The locked door. The mansion stood like a shadow at the edge of the forest. Its tall windows stared out into the night like watching eyes. David Cole paused at the front gates, boots sinking into the wet ground. He'd heard the stories, curses, disappearances, strange lights in the upper floors. Most people stayed away. David wasn't most people. The iron gates groaned as he pushed them open. The path to the house was overgrown with weeds. Rainwater pooled in the cracks, reflecting the pale moonlight. The air smelled of wet leaves and something faintly metallic. David's hand rested on the grip of his pistol as he climbed the front steps. The wooden doors were carved with symbols he didn't understand. They were sharp, looping lines that almost seemed to shift if he stared too long. He pushed the doors open, and cold air spilled out. The smell inside was a mix of dust and something faintly electrical. The hallway beyond was wide and dark, lined with tall mirrors and a faded red carpet. David's boots echoed as he moved deeper. Every sound seemed louder here. The creak of a floorboard, the faint sigh of the wind through a cracked window. But then, something else, a low hum, steady and smooth. It didn't belong in a dead house. He followed it, passing broken furniture and peeling wallpaper. The hum grew louder at the end of a narrow hall. Half hidden behind a leaning bookshelf, he found. It had a door, newer than the rest. Its wood was smooth, the brass handle polished. But the lock was the strangest part. Small, electronic, glowing faintly green. It didn't fit the mansion at all. David crouched, running his fingers along its edges. No screws, no keyhole, no brand name. The green light pulsed slowly from behind. The door came the faint shadow of movement. Something alive was inside. He froze. The place was supposed to be empty. His breath slowed, his grip tightening on the pistol. For a moment, the hum changed, deeper, slower, almost like breathing. Not human breathing, something heavier. Every instinct told him to leave. Instead, he pulled out his lock tools. The pick trembled faintly in his hand as a strange vibration moved up through it. The green light blinked faster. Then the lock gave a single long glow and clicked open. David pushed the door. A pale blue light spilled into the hall. Inside was a circular room, the walls covered in strange carved symbols. In the center stood a tall glass cylinder, glowing with swirling blue liquid, and floating inside was a girl. Her silver hair drifted around her face, her eyes closed, her skin pale as moonlight. Thin tubes ran from her body to the base of the cylinder. The hum vibrated in David's chest. Then her eyes opened, bright gold. The glass cracked with a sharp hiss, and the hum began to rise. The alien girl. The crack in the glass spread like a spider's web. Thin streams of glowing blue liquid slid down the cylinder, dripping onto the floor with soft splashes. Inside, the girl's golden eyes never left David's face. She didn't blink, didn't move, but somehow, he felt as if she was already inside his mind. The hum deepened. Then, with a sharp pop, the glass shattered outward. Shards skittered across the wooden floor. The blue liquid rushed out, washing over David's boots. Cold as ice, the girl collapsed to her knees, gasping for air like she'd been drowning. David took a step forward, unsure if he should help or draw his weapon. Her movements were strange, too quick, too sharp, like her body didn't quite follow the rules of gravity. She looked up at him, her wet silver hair clinging to her cheeks. Her lips moved, releasing a string of sounds he had never heard before. It wasn't just one voice, it was like several overlapping, speaking at once. David shook his head. "I don't understand you," he said. She stared at him for a heartbeat, then raised her wrist. A small black device wrapped around it sparked with a faint blue light. When she spoke again, her voice was clear, calm, and in perfect English. "You shouldn't be here." David's hand tightened on the pistol. "Who are you?" The girl's gaze flicked toward the door, as if she was listening to something far away. "I am not from this world," she said, her tone as steady as her stare. "And now, they will come for me." David frowned. "They? Who are?" A sound cut through his words. 3 heavy, Deliberate knocks on the mansion's front doors. The air in the room seemed to grow colder. "They found me," she said quietly. David glanced toward the hallway, but she caught his wrist. Her touch was ice cold, her grip stronger than he expected. "If you face them, you will die," she warned. "Then tell me how to stop." "Them," he replied. Her golden eyes softened, almost sadly. "You can't." The knocking came again. Harder this time. Dust drifted down from the ceiling. And then came a sound that froze David where he stood. Long, sharp claws dragging slowly across the wooden door downstairs. The intruders, the sound of claws scraped again. Slow, steady, like a predator circling before the strike. David's pulse thudded in his ears. The girl, Lyra, didn't flinch. She tilted her head as if she could hear more than just the scratching. Then the noise stopped. For a breath, the mansion was silent. And in that silence came the crash. The front doors exploded inward, splinters flying across the dark hallway. 3 tall figures stepped through the broken frame. They moved like hunters, smooth, precise. Without hesitation, their black armor was curved and glossy, marked with thin red lines that pulsed faintly. Their faces were hidden behind dark visors. That caught the glow from the library. David could not see eyes, but he felt their gaze searching the air, scanning, hunting. Lyra's hand gripped his arm. "This way," she whispered. She pulled him toward the far wall of the library. At first, he thought she'd lost her mind. There was no door, but then her palm pressed against one of the carved symbols. The wood shifted with a hiss, revealing a narrow black space. Inside, she ordered. David stepped in, and the panel slid shut behind them. They were in total darkness, through a thin gap. David could see the hallway outside, the intruders spread out, each holding a small device that sent green light sweeping over the walls and floor. One of them stopped, its head tilted. David's breath slowed. The hunter stepped closer, stopping right in front of the wall that hid them. The green light flickered over the panel and stopped. It raised its weapon, a black rifle that hummed with dangerous energy. Lyra's cold hand closed over David's wrist. "Do not move," she mouthed. The hunter didn't fire instead. It paused, like it was listening to something David couldn't hear. Then it turned and walked away, disappearing deeper into the mansion. The others followed, but before the sound of their footsteps faded, a new noise filled the air. A low, mechanical hum, harsher than before, coming from the walls. "They left a beacon," Lyra whispered. David's voice was barely a breath. "A beacon for what?" Her eyes glowed faintly in the dark. "For more," she said. The beacon's hum grew louder. It wasn't just sound. David could feel it in the walls, like the mansion itself had started breathing. Lyra didn't wait. She gripped his sleeve and pulled him down the narrow passage. Her steps were silent, quick, like she'd memorized every inch of this hidden route. Behind them, the hunters moved again. Their footsteps were slow, deliberate, echoing in the dark like the ticking of a clock. David glanced back through a gap in the wall. One of the visors turned toward the passage. The green scanner light swept over the bookshelves. He knew it was only a matter of time before they found the hidden entrance. The passage curved downward. The smell changed. Less dust, more metal. Ahead, a faint blue glow lit the stone steps. They reached a heavy steel hatch with a round wheel lock. Lyra spun it quickly, the grinding metal echoing through the tunnel. The door opened into a vast underground chamber. David stepped inside, eyes widening. The walls were lined with strange machines, their surfaces pulsing faintly with light. In the center rested a sleek silver craft. Its surface shimmered as if it was made of liquid metal. "What is this?" David asked. Lyra didn't stop moving. "A safe house for my people," she said. Before the hunters found it, a metallic clang rang through the passage behind them. David's instincts flared. They'd been found. Lyra was already at the ship, running her fingers over a smooth control panel. The surface lit up with alien symbols. "Engines are cold," she said sharply. "I need time." David took position between her and the tunnel, pistol in hand. Shadows moved inside the passage. One hunter stepped into the chamber, its weapon humming with green light. David fired. The shot sparking off the alien armor. Another hunter emerged, moving low and fast. Energy bolts cut through the air, scorching the metal floor. "Lyra!" He shouted. 30 seconds. She called back without looking. David fired again, aiming for the visor. One of his shots cracked the black glass. A hiss escaped from inside the helmet. The alien staggered but didn't fall. Then a third. Sound joined the fight. A deep, grinding roar from below. David felt it through his boots before he heard it clearly. The floor vibrated, dust falling from the ceiling. Lyra's voice went sharp. "They've brought the burrower." Asterisk. The machine below the floor shuddered. A low roar rolled up from beneath the chamber, deep enough to rattle the walls. David's teeth vibrated against each other. The sound wasn't just loud, it was alive, metal against stone, grinding and tearing its way upward. Through the grated floor near the far wall, David saw it. A spinning blur of steel claws, ripping through the earth like it was paper. The claws glowed red from heat, steam hissing where they met the cold air. The roar grew sharper, then ended in a sudden heavy thud. The ground split open. A black cylinder pushed up into the hangar, its surface scarred and steaming. It was bigger than any tank David had seen. Red lines pulsed along its sides, forming symbols he didn't recognize. A hatch at the top hissed open. 3 hunters climbed out, weapons already glowing. Lyra's voice cut through the noise. "The ship's power is rising, but not enough yet." David didn't look back. "Then we hold them here," he said, stepping forward. The first hunter moved fast. David fired, aiming for the cracked visor he'd damaged before. The shot sparked against the fracture, making the alien stumble. The second hunter raised a weapon shaped like a spear. It fired a burst of green light that slammed into the wall, leaving a smoking hole. "Lyra!" David shouted, ducking behind a support beam. Her hands danced over the controls, her face calm but tight. 15 seconds, she replied. The third hunter landed on the deck with a heavy thump. It moved differently, slower, heavier. The armor along its shoulders split open, revealing curved blades that hissed like hot metal. David's pistol clicked empty. Without thinking, he snatched a fallen alien rifle from the ground. It was heavier than it looked. The grip cold and strange in his hand, he aimed, squeezed. The weapon spat a beam of white-hot energy that tore across the floor, forcing the hunters to scatter. 5 seconds. Lyra called. The ship's engines roared, the air filling with a low, thrumming pulse. David backed toward the ramp. The hunters closed in, their armor reflecting the engine's glow. The ramp began to rise. One hunter lunged forward, jamming a blade into the edge. David kicked it free, the door slamming shut. For a moment, the hangar was a blur of light and sound. Through the viewport, he saw the burrower's claws spinning again. It wasn't staying behind, it was digging upward, chasing them toward the surface. Lyra glanced at him, her voice flat but certain. "They're coming into the sky with us." The last stand. The ship tore through the tunnel of earth. Metal screamed against rock, engines straining as if they might tear themselves apart. David gripped the rail beside him, feeling each violent shudder in his bones. Beneath them, the burrower followed, its spinning claws carving an endless path upward. Red light from its body glowed through cracks in the soil like molten veins. Lyra's hands flew over the controls. "They're matching our speed," she said. "They'll break the surface right after us." David leaned toward the viewport. The last layers of soil were thinning. He could see the faint shimmer of moonlight above. The ship burst out into open air. Cold night winds slammed against the hull, but the burrower erupted right after them. A dark shape against the silver clouds, its claws retracted, revealing a massive cannon where the drill had been. The weapon glowed with a deep green charge. "They're locking on," Lyra warned. David scanned the control panel, spotting a manual override near the back. A failsafe. He'd seen something like it before. It could dump all remaining power into the engines for one final burst, enough to escape. But it would kill the ship's systems completely. They'd be drifting in dead space. He met Lyra's gaze. "You can start the ship again," he said. She shook her head. "Not without time. Not with them chasing." David's eyes hardened. "Then you need to go without me." Her hands paused on the controls. "That's not an option," she said flatly. The cannon below flared brighter. David didn't wait. He tore the panel cover free and grabbed the override lever. Lyra's cold hand caught his wrist. "You would give your life for this planet?" she asked. David didn't look away. "It's my home." He yanked the lever. The ship roared with raw power, the walls shaking like they might split apart. Stars blurred into streaks as they shot forward. The cannon below fired, but the green beam missed, slicing through empty clouds. The burrowers shrank behind them, lost in the black. The engines cut out, silence swallowing the cabin. David slumped against the wall, chest heaving. Lyra moved closer, her voice softer now. "You've changed how I see humans." He managed a faint smile. "Good. Make sure they remember that." Outside, the ship drifted among the stars. Far below, in the ruins of the mansion, a faint metallic humming began again. The final shadow silence filled the cabin. The stars hung still outside the viewport. Sharp against the endless black, David sat on the cold metal floor, breathing slow, each inhale burning his chest. Lyra's hands moved over the controls, searching for any trace of power left. The panels glowed faintly, but the engines were dead. "They can't follow us now," she said quietly. David gave a tired nod. "That's the point." Her golden eyes lingered on him, studying him the way a scientist studies a rare animal. "You risked everything for a world that doesn't even know your name." David smirked weakly. "I'm not doing it for the fame." The ship drifted toward the shadow of a nearby moon. For a few minutes, there was only the soft creak of metal, cooling in the cold. Then a faint light blinked on one of Lyra's displays. She frowned, tapping it. "It's a signal," she murmured. David sat up straighter. "From them?" "No," she said slowly. "This is older, much older." The signal pulsed in a slow rhythm. 3 short bursts, a pause, then one long tone. David didn't recognize it. But Lyra's voice had dropped to something almost like awe. "It's from another of my kind. And it's coming from Earth." Before David could answer, the lights flickered. The ship's hull groaned. Somewhere far below, deep in the black, a shape was moving. Not the burrower. Something bigger, something older. Its outline was lost in the dark, but its size swallowed the stars behind it. Lyra's hands tightened on the controls. "That is not ours," she said quietly. David leaned toward the viewport. The shape drifted closer, slow and deliberate, and then, from inside the mansion they'd left behind, the faint metallic humming began again.